This meeting of the Watuppa Water Board will come to order. Mr. Phil, if you will do the open meeting law statement.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the roll.
Yes, please.
President Pierson,
Present.
Commissioner Pennell,
Here.
and Commissioner Ferrer is absent.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is citizen input. Ms. Scott, since you signed in first, I'd like to ask you, are we all here for the same reason? And is there any way we can consolidate everything that has to be said, or would you all like to speak?
I'm my own person, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's onerous for 3 people to speak individually.
That's
I
fine.
hope that that is acceptable to the water board.
Please go right ahead.
Okay. My name is Erica Scott. I live at 187 Pittman Street here in Fall River in the Flint, and I'm here because I, over the summer, received the response from the Attorney General regarding my open meeting complaint, open meeting law alleged violation pertaining to the meeting held in August at which the Watuppa Water Board approved the contract with Ben Water to sell our drinking water to the Inberg Fracking plant in Burrillville. So I note that I received this response after I had several conversations with an attorney at the Attorney General's office as they were trying to figure out what to do with it. And ultimately, my complaint was not, there was no decision made on it because it was found to be filed too late. And so I'm actually here to point out 2 things in the letter in response and to congratulate the board for successfully keeping this contract out of the public eye past the month-long time period during which I had to file the complaint. So I note a footnote from the Attorney General. We note that the board did not respond to the open meeting law complaint within the time frame required by law. We remind the board that unless an extension of time has been granted, the open meeting law requires that within 14 days of receipt of a complaint, the public body must review the complaint's allegations, take remedial action if appropriate, and send to the Attorney General a copy of the complaint and a description of any remedial action taken. Now, I filed this complaint on October 23rd, and I sent it to 3 people at the City of Fall River, to the Water Board, to Mr. Terry Sullivan, and to Allison Bouchard, City Clerk. All of those emails went through. None were bounced back as undeliverable. But by hook or by crook, no one in the city received that. None of the 3 people to whom I sent it received it. And so I understand that you guys did not review it until December. But I do note that you were supposed to have responded within 14 days. And not only do I note it, but the Office of the Attorney General notes that you did fail to respond in a timely fashion to me. Unfortunately, your response ultimately is less important than the time frame within which I had to file the complaint. And as such, the Attorney General wrote to me, quote, "While we do not review the merits of this complaint, we note that the August 17, 2017 meeting notice appears to be insufficiently detailed," which was a substantive part of my complaint. The notice lists 13 topics, including contracts and contingent water supply, which are 2 different line items or agenda items. During the August 17, 2017 meeting, under the topic contingent water supply, the board discussed and approved a contract with Ben Water and Heavy Transport Corporation, in which the City of Fall River would become a contingent water supplier on an annual basis. We generally consider a topic to include sufficient specificity when a reasonable member of the public could read the topic and understand the anticipated nature of the public body's discussion. So again, they did not review the merits of my complaint because my complaint was filed on October 23rd. It would have had to have been filed within 30 days of the meeting on or by September 18th. So because from September 18th until October 23rd, nobody in the City of Fall River, nor any of the activists in Rhode Island, nor the Conservation Law Foundation, nor the town of Burrillville, all of whom are suing about this, not our deal, but a related water deal in Superior Court, nobody managed to figure out what contingent water supply meant. was not listed under contracts. There was no contract given. So I congratulate you, the board, on actually kind of having won, in a sense. But I also want to thank whomever it was that leaked the contract. October 23rd, I filed a complaint, open meeting law complaint, which was a Monday. It's the same day that the Conservation Law Foundation filed a legal filing, which here in the letter it says that I learned about the board's discussion, y'all's discussion in a court filing by the Conservation Law Foundation October 23rd. So that was a Monday. Saturday, October 21st, perhaps someone in this room, I honestly do not know, but perhaps someone in this room leaked the contract with Fall River's name not redacted. Previously, our water contract in filings with the Energy Facility Siting Board of Rhode Island, which is adjudicating whether or not to grant permits for this fracking plant to move forward, our name was blacked out. The contract, the city of Fall River's name was blacked out. The public records request that I did with the city have revealed that was a strategic decision that the Jazel Correa administration and Corporation Counsel Macy and David Sullivan, the attorney with whom the city has been working, made to avoid public knowledge, okay? Thank you to whomever leaked the contract. I don't know who it is. I spoke with a journalist to whom the contract was leaked. He is not going to disclose who leaked the contract because of the confidentiality of source. Somebody leaked the contract on a Saturday. By Monday, I found out about actually that Saturday because I already was friendly with advocates to protect our environment in Rhode Island. So Monday I filed the open meeting law complaint, but it was too late. It was already a month too late. So even though the water board, you guys won that complaint, ultimately also thank you to whomever leaked the contract, because without you, who knows, I think it would have hopefully come out at some point. I'm really just here to really encourage you guys. You have the power. All of you have the power. Anytime this is a different water board than last year. You have the power to nullify this contract. The Narragansett Indian tribe did it. This is not good for Fall River. It's not the right decision. We just all saw the terrible tragedy. People died, people were injured, dozens of people were injured. Hundreds of houses caught on fire because of natural gas in north of us, just an hour north of us, in North Andover and Lawrence, okay? Even Governor Baker has called for more infrastructure and clean energy, renewable energy, not more gas lines, not more pipelines, not more fracking. This is the wrong choice for our city, and I'm just here to remind you guys about that. Thank you.
The chair is going to respond that we've discussed this in the past, as you all know. And I think my bottom line that time was that we would not be in favor of entering into another contract. However, we are in the business of selling water. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think we've sold one tank load of water as of yet, but I'll let Mr. Sullivan respond to that. If you would, Terry?
We have not.
We have not. So as you can see, we're making money off of it, which is part of our function. Because without incoming money, we can't replace water mains and all those various chores that we have to do. And I told you that we were steadfastly behind you in your efforts. However, the contract is in place and they are not taking any water from us as of now. And if they were, it is to my belief that the only water they would use is to probably dampen the dusty roads going in and out of that plant. But they haven't even got a plant yet. So if they want to keep paying us by the year, we're going to let that contract run out at that rate. Terry, if you have any words, or Mr. Feldman?
I have no comment.
No comment.
The next public speaker is Eric Andrade.
Hi, I'm Eric Andrade.
Eric, would you remove your hat, please?
No.
It's a public building, sir.
No, so that's public
Okay.
freedoms. that
Go
we
right
have.
ahead.
That's not a legal law that says that in a public building we have to take off our hat.
Go right ahead.
So in 1999, when I'm not, water is a precious resource. 1% of the Earth's environment includes fresh water. That resource is continually being wasted and polluted, so that resource is actually becoming more and more valuable and more scarce. When we travel to other planets to look for life, the first thing they look for is water. because it's so important. In 1907, the city of Fall River illegally stole the land and the water from the Pocasset tribe, the Wampanoag tribe in the region, for the reason of providing public water for the community of Fall River, not for the sale of water to make profit for infrastructure. And part of that, in terms of taking not only the water source in the Watuppa, but also the land, was to prevent human interaction with that water for contamination purposes. By selling water to a fracking company that is going to use that water for turbines, because that's the actual initial reason why they need water, they need to cool the turbines, that water will be contaminated. So even though that deal to steal that land was illegal, it was made under the premise that for a charitable purpose of the folks in this region to have public water, drinking water, and to prevent contamination. This sale is contaminating that water, so it's a breach of that agreement of 1907. Outside of that, this fracked gas is coming from Pennsylvania. In the process of fracking, they're polluting the water source in Pennsylvania. In the process of building a power plant in Burrillville, they're going to destroy wetlands and natural environment, and also create more carbon emissions. We're in a reality, I don't know if you've seen the news with, outside of Lawrence, also the hurricanes that have happened at a more alarming rate. The Paris Accord was stating that there should be no more fossil fuel plants that should be built. Here you have a corporation that's building a fossil fuel plant on protected wildlife, destroying wetlands, destroying the ecology locally there, and also taking resources from the Watuppa. I've worked for the trustees of reservations, managing the Youth Conservation Corps, and we worked with the city of Fall River around the Watuppa Reservation. And one thing I do know is that there's been droughts in this region for the last several summers, at least 4 summers going back. So water, even in this region, is a limited resource, and it has shown itself to be a limited resource, and there have been concerns. So to sell 18 to 88 million gallons of water to a fracking company to pollute that water and contaminate that water seems a waste of resources. Water is blue gold. In 1999, I was going to begin this. I first learned of this term, blue gold. We were concerned about Y2K, and I had a college classmate that was from France, and he said that when I went home for Christmas break, no one was talking about Y2K. They were talking about blue gold and how that water was a limited resource. The fact that you have in Fall River the 2nd and 3rd largest fresh water supply in Massachusetts, and that sold for $25,000, the sale of that water resource is irresponsible for not just for future generations, for present generations, because we've had water shortages already. To sell that water to be contaminated and leave the aquifer in the local region is a travesty. And to be a water board, I think you have to think about not just present economic situations, but also long term. You have to think about your great grandkids or even your kids, because as you look at other communities that are having water scarcity in the West Coast, in Atlanta, in Flint, these are realities present day, and to use that water to burn to cool terminals for fossil fuels is completely irresponsible ecologically. It's irresponsible economically. The fact that the Narragansett tribe was offered $900,000 and this deal is for $25,000 begs me to ask, where did that other $800,000 go? Where did that number change to? And in the meeting, as I recall, it was saying $35,000. Someone had said, misspoken, said $35,000 and 25. 30.
Yeah,
30,000, and now at 25,000. But it's very, very troubling to see this, because water is so precious, and it's a resource that the city has, that if you're going to be in charge of that, it should be used responsibly.
Thank you. Just 2 points. You said 2nd or 3rd. We are the 2nd. Only to the water and reservoir, which supplies Boston. And secondly, I'd like to thank you for your time out on the reservation. I'm sure it was well spent. But Anybody else have any comments?
Just one clarification.
Yes,
Just
please.
Andrew had said the sale of 18 to 88 million gallons. The contract is 18,000 gallons a day, not 18 million, up to a maximum. I forget the maximum, might have been 80 or 88,000 gallons, not million.
A day.
Yeah.
A big difference.
That's a big number.
But
Regardless,
your point is
especially
well
for
taken.
Last, in two summers ago, we had a drought in the region, and that drought lasted up until January.
Mhm.
And when you went over to the reservation, you could see the rocks. The water.
Trust me, we have people who check it every day.
I know.
And we're almost at full capacity right now, but, and the number changes every day we don't get rain, so
And if it's sold out,
I get your point.
88,000 gallons per week.
Per day.
Per day.
Per day.
Maximum.
That, like you said, that's maximum. As I said before, the only water we would sell, if we sell the tank truck, for the next couple of years is probably only to wet down roads, to keep the dust down while construction's being done.
But that's not what the agreement is for. It's for
Well, no,
up
but
to
we don't-
88,000.
This board is not inclined to enhance that agreement. Once that agreement runs out, it'll take a vote, but I can tell you that the board is not in favor of renewing that contract once it runs out. At this time, unless this board changes drastically. We have Mr. Hartman Dietz.
Hello, Lee Glosson and Dusty Louise Hartman, Newcomb Sepia. I'm Mashpee Wampanoag. There's a number of things I want to address, and we've got a small meeting with just a few people, so I feel like I've got the time to address them. Some of the other folks spoke about, there's been water rationing in the past. There's been rationing programs due to drought, correct?
The water rationing that we've
Not
implemented
Fall
is
River.
due to pumps that were failing in our pumping station. That's the
We had
only.
restrictions just a few weeks ago, water
Yeah,
restrictions.
there was 1 week of requested voluntary restrictions because of a failure of 2 main pumps at the water treatment plant. It wasn't due to volume or capacity available, it was a mechanical problem that was addressed.
Has there ever been a time when there's been water rationing due to availability?
My recollection is the drought of 1980 to 1981, the North Watuppa Pond dropped to minus 84 inches below full pond. The recent droughts, the lowest we got was minus 3.
All right, so the possibility of taking almost 100,000 gallons per day could potentially lead to more extensive rationing for folks and the citizens that this is supposed to be drinking water for. And as a Wampanoag person, knowing that Wampanoag people were forcibly removed from Betty's Neck for the purpose of this providing drinking water, not cooling water, drinking water. This is not industrial use water that we were pushed off of our land for, forcibly removed from our land for. We were forcibly removed from our land for the purpose of creating clean water for people to drink. A human need. Not a mechanical need, not a machine need, not a profit need. Do we get our land back? If we are no longer needing to be concerned with the drinkability of this water, or this water being for the purpose of providing drinking water for people and citizens. I mean, this is no longer the purpose of the water. Do we get to have our land back?
That is something you'd have to take up with the state legislature. They're the ones who decided to create a water board and to have a city-run agency take charge of it.
As a Wampanoag person who works with our Tribal Historic Preservation Department, I would like to point out and enter into record that there's been no meaningful prior consultation or any prior informed consent from the Wampanoag people around this project or around this contract or around the implications of this project on our people, on our rights, on our access to that water. So what kind of implications do these things have as far as us with the tribe? And there's been no communication from the city of Fall River with the tribe in regards to this. So Why has that not happened? Why has the due diligence of that process not taken place? Why has the tribe not been involved?
To the best of my knowledge, we're not mandated by law to do that.
You're not mandated by law to deal with the tribal people who were dispossessed of the land
That wasn't done by
for the purpose
us.
of water.
Wasn't done by
It
us.
wasn't done by you personally.
No,
But
it
the
was done
fact
by
of
the
the matter
state
is,
legislature, sir.
this is something that has impacted us as a tribe,
Mhm.
as tribal people, is a part of what is the history of this land. Do you know what Watuppa means?
Yes, I do.
What does it mean?
It's a couple of different meanings. One is it's a part of a birch string. Did you know that?
No.
Well, it's in Webster's Encyclopedia.
Well, Webster's Encyclopedia is English. Do you speak Wampanoag, sir?
No, I don't.
I speak Wampanoag. Watuppa means she is satisfied.
That is one meaning of it, I agree.
That is the only meaning of it.
No, it's not. Not according to Webster's.
You are a Wampanoag linguist, sir.
I'm telling you what
Because I
Webster's
am a
dictionary will
Wampanoag
tell you.
language teacher. So
Very
I
good.
don't think that you have the base of knowledge to correct me on this matter.
President Pierson, you can do whatever you like, but it's citizens' input, they get their chance to explain. It's not
Go right ahead,
necessarily
sir.
used for debate.
Yeah, I believe that I have more knowledge than you in this area.
That's your belief, sir. You go right ahead, whatever you wish.
Okay, all right. You perfectly entitled to be arrogant and condescending as well. But, you know, as life goes. As such, you know, this is a matter of land rights, this is a matter of water rights, this is a matter of tribal rights. And meaningful consultation is a part of our UN, United Nations rights of indigenous people. This goes beyond the state of Massachusetts, it goes beyond the United States of America. This is international agreements about impacts of colonial structures like yours on the native people of the land and the impacts of the environmental resources such as water, trees, other things like that. So, I'm gonna say, there's been no meaningful consultation and no free and prior informed consent. And you can think or believe, as you do, that you have no obligation to deal with this. But I believe that you are wrong just as you are wrong with the facts about the Wampanoag language, sir. You're probably ignorant to the actualities of the law beyond your city, on the higher levels, and you're making mistakes based on your ignorance, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else here for citizen input?
We have one here.
Please come on up and sign in, please. There's a pen right there. Thank you. Thank you. And your name is?
Robert Pitsley.
Please go right ahead, Robert.
I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. It is my hope and intent to be able to work matters like this out, as it is a deep concern with the general public. And I think that it is a great possibility that dialogue is the only key to being able to successfully try and come to some sort of middle ground. I would like to keep it brief, but just simply remind that Massachusetts, I've grown up 30 years in Marion, Massachusetts. My father and mother as well. My grandmother's side, a Wampanoag Indian. And it is, the Buzzards Bay area is very important to me. And I would just like to remind anyone that Massachusetts historically has been, in this nation, viewed as a state where people are able to stand up for their concerns and challenge legally, if necessary, any decisions that have been wrongfully accounted for. Within the history of this industry, I see no accountability for any spillage, any damage that could be done. I barely see dialect initiating these matters in the ground processes. So I would like to hear one person explain to me how within this budget, in these times right now, how you could successfully account for a potential loss like we happened last week. And the history speaks for itself. And I'd like to be as transparent as possible as a citizen, because I'm a farmer in this area. And before I was a farmer, I worked outdoors as a general contractor, excavating in Marion, working for Washburn Park, working with the town of Marion, DPW. And I'm a current student, just graduated from Mass Bay Environmental Science in my microbiology lab. I will be there on Friday. I am dedicated toward dialogue and scientific research of matters like this, and hopefully, not hopefully, legal history, because it's been proven that Massachusetts has been able to turn opinions nationally in our favor, and that is a trend that I would love to see continue, and that's going to be my intent going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, we thank you very much. Second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
I second the motion. Motion is unanimous. Mr. Fairland, do you want to handle item number 3, abatements?
Yes, within your packet you have a list of abatements that are, they were evaluated by our staff. The list complies with the abatement schedule and all the requirements. The total amount of abatements is $1,758.95. If there's any questions on any individual abatements, we can address them. Other than that,
Mr. Pennell, do you have any questions on the abatements?
No, I already looked at it.
Do we need a motion on this, Mr. Fairland?
yes.
Chair will make a motion to approve the abatements as written.
Second.
The vote on this matter is unanimous.
The next item, item number 4 on the agenda, is agreement with the Stonebridge Fire District. This is an extension of the agreement with Stonebridge Fire District that we have for their use of the Stafford Pond water. Within this agreement, it extends the agreement out to the year 2043. As you know, Stonebridge Fire District has a treatment facility on Stafford Pond. They draw the water from Stafford Pond, they supply it to their customers within Stonebridge, and also they sell to North Tiverton Fire District as well for drinking water, fire protection, and processes within those areas. The contract amount is, as I said, an extension of the existing contract that was agreed to and litigated from the 1990s. The amount for the payment the payment starts out at $2,500 per month. for this year. It increases by 10% until 2022, and then it increases by the CPI utility rate index after that.
Is there a motion to approve the agreement?
I'll motion.
Motion is unanimous. Item number 5, the 1099 agreement for Mr. John Fryer.
In your packet, you will see that there is a 1099. As the board knows, Mr. Fry just retired as of August 31st. We'd like to have him assist us in transitional period of dealing with the administrative staff and his specialty of munis, billing, budgeting, and the finance of the water department. It'll assist us with some personnel and transitioning within the water administration division. He also has extensive knowledge of the distribution system, so we feel it'd be greatly beneficial to have him on board.
This is for a period of 6 months?
This is a period of 6 months, total of 24 hours per month, with a agreement pay rate of $1,000 per month.
Is there a motion to approve the agreement?
I'll motion.
Motion is unanimous. Item 6, electrical upgrades.
So this is related to the electrical, to the pump upgrades that we've had to do down at the water treatment facility as the, I apologize, I've been keeping up with the slideshow, but down at the water treatment plant, we lost 2 of our main finished water pumps in the beginning of the season back in July, June, end of June. The new pumps are in. We've been working with 4 of our electrical services to upgrade the medium voltage cables and supplies from the soft starts that are in the facility over to the pumps. We're using still the same electrical motors that are in place. The soft starts are about 4 years old. They were replaced with the transfer switch, the main transfer switch into the plant. The conduits that run through the floor up to where the electric motors are from the soft starts aren't large enough to accommodate the new requirements of the medium voltage wiring. So we had to do overhead piping to go into the electric motors. As you know, we have 2 250 horsepower motors, which power 4 million gallon a day pumps. We have one 250 horsepower motor that powers our 8 MGD pump, and then we have a 500 horsepower motor that powers our 12 MGD pump. All of these wires will be replaced to feed the motors. They were all original to the plant from 1972. So this was kind of a weak link in between the new soft starts that we have and the electric motors, which are still in good condition. So we felt that this would be doable. This is being procured under emergency procurement with the procurement that we had to do during the emergency of the pumps failing. The amount is in $59,860, and it's to Fall River Electrical Associates.
There's a photo of the
I apologize, but up there is a photo of the pumps as I talked to. Starting from the left would be pump 1, a 250 horsepower electric motor with a 4 MGD pump. Pump 2 is the same thing, a 250 horsepower motor. Pump 2 is actually one of the pumps that has been out of service. Pump 3 is the third one over towards the right. That is an 8 MGD pump. That one has been in service. That has the same size motor, 250 horsepower. Through recommendations of the National Grid, we'll be upgrading that pump to a 300 horsepower. Pump 4 is the largest one in the foreground to the right. That's a 500 horsepower motor and a 12 MGD pump. That was the other pump that went down back in June. So the new electrical wires will be coming overhead from the soft starts, running down across the floor underneath the T's that go out to the pumps, and then going up into the peck ahead of the pumps.
Are we going to be at full capacity on all the pumps in the very near future?
Yeah, so right now, actually, we just installed pump number 2 yesterday. We got all the pots in for the replacement of pump 2. The pump, there was one issue with one of the shafts. It was 2 inches too short, an issue from the manufacturer, so they are flying in a new shaft and it will be cut to length. So we expect that pump number 2 should be up and running by mid next week. Once pump 2 is up and running, we'll make sure that pump 2 is sound, there's no issues with it. Once we're comfortable with the running and capacity of pump 2, then we will go to remove pump 4 again, because we put that back in temporarily with a new shaft. We'll go to put all the replacement pots into pump 4, and then put pump 4 back online.
That shaft, was that their fault?
Yes, so it's not our fault. They had the original plans and diagrams of the actual pump, so.
So is that covered under a warranty process?
Yeah, not a warranty. They didn't provide it. We're looking at it as they didn't provide the proper pots for the installation.
Any questions, Commissioner?
Nope.
Is there a motion to accept the agreement?
Motion.
Motion is unanimous. Item number 7, oversight electricity.
Yep. Item number 7 is contract with McRitchie Engineering for $10,000. This is for the oversight of the electrical installation. So I just want to make sure that everything that's installed is installed properly, is checked out, made sure that it is done correctly. Not that far of electrical wouldn't do anything, but I'd like to have our own backup records just to double check. Plus also this will confirm that we get good as-built drawings so that we know what's there for the future for our documentation. This company we worked with through the basic design, coming up under J.K. Meir, and now we're looking to do this contract separately with them.
Does this require a vote of the board?
$10,000. Would like to come to the board, $10,000 or above.
Chair will make a motion to approve.
A motion.
Motion is unanimous. Item 8, East Main Street change orders.
So, distributed it to tonight, and I apologize for the lateness of it, but there was a couple of change orders for East Main Street. So as you know, we replaced the water mains on East Main Street prior to them doing the streetscape project. Was within the same contract. The initial change orders that was sent over by the contractor, we were not in agreement with. All of what they were requesting, we went back. I've been working back and forth with them. That's why it's just available for you in front of you tonight. There is a total of 4 change orders. Additional work at Dwelly and East Main Street. Additional work at East Main Street and Globe. Additional work at East Main and Hamlet. And some additional work at Montauk and Dwelly. So the total of these was $19,620.94.
I think this is the lowest amount you've ever come to me with for a change order. Congratulations on keeping a watchful eye on this.
Thank you.
Chair would make a motion to accept this upgrade project.
A motion.
Passes unanimous. Item 9.
So item number 9, I just want to give you guys a little update. As you know, we're going through a water meter and AMR replacement program. This board approved the authorization, and we've been back to you with some contracts for engineering firm supply contracts for the materials. Just want to try to get out to the public and everybody else and notify the board that we're moving forward with the project. We've had a couple of meetings with the engineers and the suppliers, and we expect to see productivity out there in the field within 2 to 4 months. There are a couple of things that are going to be done through this project. So if you look up at the screen, you'll be able to see one of the AMR units, the automatic meter reading units. It's a Neptune R900. This is a small gray box that you see on the side of the house. This has a wire, so this essentially is a radio unit that sends out a signal so that we can read what the meter says. There's a wire that goes from there down to the meter head in the basement, which sits on top of the brass meter body, which is actually what reads the water. The contract that we're going to be doing has almost two parts to it. There's one part where a majority of the properties within the city, the houses, we're going to be replacing just this gray box on the outside of the house. So there's a new model of this box that will be replacing it. It looks exactly the same. It has new features. It sends out a higher signal every 10 pulses so that we can get it better. As you know, we're going to the fixed base system, so antennas throughout the city that will read the meters with rather than driving around. That bigger signal will help us get all the meters throughout the city. What I'm trying to do is just get out there some public notification that we're going to have our engineering company Thels going around, and they'll be replacing these boxes on the side of the house. The requirement of the contract is that they're in fully leaded vehicles. They're fully clothed in company apparel, ID badges, etc. So you can tell that they work for the company.
The police department's been notified of this?
Police department has been notified within our contract. The contractor is providing us with all the people that will be going around the city. Police department will do background checks on them and make sure that they're comfortable with the people that'll be working in their police department. I'm also working with two of their offices. They'll be at project meetings to assist with coordination and to make sure that that the police department is fully up to date in the areas that they're working in.
I believe you stated there's a wire already coming out from the meter. It's simply going to replace this with what is currently there and attach it to that wire.
Correct.
No need to go into the home.
Correct, exactly. So that's one portion. That's the large portion of the project. The other portion, about 10% of the homes, we're going to have to go into. Either we don't have a read, the wire's broken, or the meter's just not working, or this AMR box isn't on the side of the house, it's in the basement right next to the meter. So those houses we're going to have to get into. We'll be sending out mailers and notifications. We're going to try to get mailer within our water bills to let people know this project's going on. We'll have individual mailers that go out to houses that we need to get into for them to call and schedule appointments with the contractor for the contractor to be able to come out and go in their house. If we need to go into a house, so because the wire is broken or because the meter's not reading or the box or the AMR box is inside the house, we're also going to replace that water meter while we're in the house there too, and then take and run the wire so that this AMR can be mounted on the exterior of the house like they should be. So
Sounds like there's a lot of forethought given to this project.
yeah, definitely we're trying to think the next step ahead, trying to get all the information out there. Like I said, just trying to get the public aware. We do understand that there may be concerns from people that don't know this project's going on and see somebody weird walking into their neighbor's yard or something like that. So,
Question for the future, if people change the color of the houses, is it all right to paint these, or do you have to leave them alone?
they should leave them alone. They shouldn't paint over them. I'm not sure what the reactivity would be between the paint if it obstructed. or
Yeah,
anything,
the signal would get affected.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would recommend that it stay unpainted.
I only raise that because you know how people like to upgrade everything around their home.
Yeah.
I've seen it where they actually paint the electric boxes around their meters, and
I have
Pretty
seen
solid
that
help.
as well, but it may be ventilation or access that's required into these, and paint may plug up those holes.
so the idea is leave them alone until further notice.
Yeah, so you'll probably see this on your agenda coming up in the future, just so we can try to get some of the information out. Just up on the screen there, and you've seen this many times, I'm sure both of you are familiar. That's one of our T10 water meters. It's a 5/8 mutating disc water meter. You have the black head on top and brass body below it, which the water actually flows through.
Since we have this on the screen, and for the public's knowledge, turning these around is very illegal. You need to leave things alone, otherwise your building gets all messed up, the department gets messed up, and it could end up in a legal battle, which we certainly don't want.
And any illegally tampering with a meter is subject to both fines and large water bill if we're not getting.
So
the proper
$1,000
reading.
fine?
The last three, I believe, we issued two $300 fines, one $900 fine based on the time that it was done.
Could be good.
So if the meter is tampered with, we will find out and fines will be issued, and if we're not getting proper reading, higher water bills will be charged for illegally tampering with the meter. It's not fair to the rest of the public that is
Absolutely.
properly paying their bills for someone to tamper and try not to get a read. On the new system, we will see when it's not reading, and if somebody tries to take the top off, there's a security seal, so even if they put it back on, we will know. So please just leave your meter alone. If there's a problem with it, notify the water department, but don't touch it, don't turn it around, don't try to take the top off. It's illegal, it violates the law, and fines will be issued.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Are you all set, Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Item number 10, LAL change order number 5.
So the change order within your packet is actually closing out a contract that has been long running. This is a contract that we've had with LAL Construction. It started about 3 years ago. It was a plan to repave a bunch of the streets that we've done water main work on over the years. The change order is in the amount of $39,616. This is for some additional work that we required throughout the contract. Some patching that was required in the section of Center Street that we were doing paving on, some cobblestones that needed to be removed in the gutter area on Snell Street that was unseen with the top coat of pavement on. Once we got down to them, they couldn't be milled, they had to be removed. Hotwell Street loop detectors over there where the lights are at Hotwell Street and Rodman Street, replacing those loop detectors, and then some various quantity balances, just minor quantities within the contract going up and down. So this is the closing out of this contract. This contract was developed to actually close out a bunch of our old water phases as well, and we opted to put the money back into paving of the city streets to try to enhance some of those areas where we have done water main replacement. We worked with engineering on this contract to work with them, streets that they needed assistance with. I think it was a very good way to spend this money. So.
Mr. Fallon, you know me and change orders. However, is this not originally thought of when you first start this project? I mean, or is this something that just happens to come up?
So these particular items are stuff that's really tough to see. When you get into Center Streets, it was tough because we went through there, and after we put down the binder coat, there was some really bad unsettled areas that just didn't really show. Again, like I said, the cobblestones. These were cobblestones that came out about 1.5 feet, 2 feet from the gutter line, but with the top pavement that was on in that area of Snell Street, there was no indication that they were there. So once they got in there, we were unable to see them. Hotwell Street loop detectors was something that we worked with the police department. They requested it. Engineering, it was a request that we feel we worked with them on.
So my point is that the clarification here is that this is an unforeseen
Correct.
problem with any road construction work.
Yes, correct.
All right. Is there a motion to accept the change order?
I'll motion.
Motion passes unanimous. Item number 11, vehicle purchasing.
Yep. So in front of you tonight, there was actually a quote from MHQ. We're working on a couple of vehicles that we'd like to purchase for the department. This was the one that I was able to finalize with the dealerships on. The truck is going to be an F-350 4x4, yellow in color like all of our standard trucks. It will have an 8-foot efficient plow for plowing of our facilities, a utility body truck, so it has the toolboxes in the back, safety lights all the way around the vehicle. The amount of the vehicle is $44,813.05. This was budgeted within the FY19 budget. This vehicle will be going to water maintenance. So there is 2 other vehicles that I have been working with the dealership on. I just haven't been able to get the options. We've been back and forth a couple of times on some of the different equipment that needs to be on the vehicles. So I didn't feel that I could come to the board at this time with those 2 vehicles. This was the one that.
I can't help but to notice that it says standard equipment, manual locking hubs.
Yes.
I haven't seen those in a long time.
That just seems like an addition for the driver to have to get out and manually lock everything, but at
Yes.
that price, it's somewhat understandable.
Yeah, the tough thing is if you go up to, you would have to go up to the power equipment package, which includes power windows, power locks, and some other options.
Another 15,000.
So it is a very, very basic model
I
digital.
didn't even know they did it anymore.
Well, Ford will do almost anything you want.
Me personally, actually, I'm kind of a fan of the locking hubs. I'm a little bit old school.
I don't like getting out of the cab once it snows.
Understandable.
I had a Jeep Renegade you had to get out.
Yeah.
Truck.
And those were a pain, they'd freeze.
Those were, that's 78.
So,
Anything else, Mr. Furlan, on that item?
oh, no, that's it on that item.
Is there a
Any
motion to
questions?
accept the purchasing agreement?
All motion.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 12, other business. At this time, I have a couple of questions as to past business. For instance, what are we doing with the electrical building down at the pumping station?
So I think you're referring to what I call the 1950 electric
Yes.
station. That is, the board approved a contract with PAR to demolish that building, to the design of demolishing that building. That contract, I'm still working with PAR on a couple of their terms too. The contract hasn't been fully finalized yet, so we're just making sure that everything's in place. If we're able to come to those actual final terms on the signature of the contract, we'll approve it and move forward. If not, we'll be back to the board
I
again.
think you know that the board has every faith in what you're doing. It's just that we'd like to keep the public informed as well.
Yes.
And the other item that I would bring up tonight is that we have discussed the new building when it's built at the top of Bedford Street. I think the board agrees, without asking for a vote on it, that we'd like to keep those 6 garages, Terry, that are across the street. I know the roof needs some work, but I personally feel it'd be minor, and that the architect should consider not charging just for tearing down that building, or putting it in the overall bids, if it's agreeable to keep it.
Right, so I think at the last meeting, we mentioned about having the architect look and do the feasibility
Right.
to see what the cost would be to rehab that building compared to possible demolition before we went too far in either direction.
Even if he doesn't rehab it, I think we have the building maintenance, do we not? I mean, if it's a hole in the roof, it seems relatively easy and cheap to fix, even if the hole remains.
We have to take into consideration the new OSHA standards and requirements
Right.
and make sure the building would be up to code and what the cost of those code improvements would be.
I think it was a meeting that you were at, another meeting at the time of this last meeting, that we simply discussed maybe keeping piles of asphalt in there, sand and things like that, where our mechanic, whether it be Mo or anybody else, not have to work in the building in particular, but use it for storage with a minimal amount of repair to the roof. But that's food for thought.
So noted.
Thank you. Are there any questions? In conclusion, the water board will come to a close. We thank you.